when I was in college, I didn't have a lot of money, and because of that, I ate a lot of Hot Pockets and I ate a lot of cereal. But for anyone that's eaten a lot of Hot Pockets and cereal for weeks on end, you could probably agree that gets pretty repetitive. It's not very fulfilling for when you're craving stuff, and on top of that, it's not very nutritious for your body. Um, so because of that, early on into my college undergrad, I took up cooking, and cooking is a great activity, um, but it does require a lot of thinking on the fly, or as Amelia Earnhardt says, thinking with your stick forward. And because of that, I'm not very good at cooking, and I'm not good at cooking for a couple reasons. I'm not good at cooking because it requires a lot of prep work, and I'm not good at cooking because I'm really bad at making sure I have all the ingredients. Um, so before I detail a specific time when those things came into play, let me talk a little bit about prep work. When you do prep work, it involves cutting vegetables, thawing things, cutting meats up, boiling water, what have you. For cutting vegetables, there's a specific method where you're supposed to use your knuckle to guide your knife as you cut things really fast. But I taught myself how to cook. I didn't YouTube anything. So I used to just kind of like chop randomly with my knife. And that takes a really long time. And as it is, prep work takes a lot of time and effort. Usually takes me anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And if you're not very experienced, like I was in the past, it can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. Um, but there's a couple things that you need to know about prep work. You have, because of the time constraint that it puts on you, you have to plan ahead. But then on top of that, you also have to make sure that you kind of time all of your prep work together. For example, if you're thawing out some chicken for a pasta dish, you want to make sure that you're taking it out ahead of time before you start prepping your work, because if it's not thawed by the time you have to throw it in the pot, uh, you're out of luck. Um, but when you do prep work, it is very useful because if you're organized with it, you're able to just line things up and just kind of add things into the pan as you go. So as I mentioned, prep work is annoying, takes a long time, but it is very useful if you're organized with it. Next, as you're doing prep work, you'll often notice that you're missing some stuff. But there are times when you won't notice that you're missing stuff until you start cooking. This one time, I learned a new recipe. It was Cajun chicken pasta, and I thought I had everything. But as I went through and cooked everything, I noticed I was short on heavy condensed milk, or heavy whipping cream, excuse me. Um, and because of that, I had to really think on the fly, but I couldn't stop to think because A, I have things in the pot that could burn, and two, the chicken that I was using to cook the dish was in the oven and it was going to be out in a couple minutes. I ultimately ended up just sticking with it, and I used whatever heavy whipping cream I had, which was only about a cup as opposed to 3 cups that I needed. Um, and I thought to myself, well, if I make it now, I can just go ahead and add more um, later on when everything is cooked and put together. And then I can just put it over heat and mix it and it'll be fine. Um, but when that occurred, I was under a lot of pressure because I don't want anything to burn. And since I'm already in it, I have to really think on the fly. Um, but you always want to make sure you have everything before you leave. You don't want to leave too much room for improvisation when you're cooking, because in doing so, you run into more and more issues. So as I mentioned, It's important to have all the things that you need before you start cooking and to double check. And if you don't, go ahead and run to the grocery store and get those things checked off. All in all, I am not very good at cooking, but I have improved a lot over time. My dad is very good at cooking, so he gives me recipes to cook all the time, and that's been very good practice. Hopefully, in the future, even though I do have more money now, I still try to rely on cooking. And hopefully, in the future, I can really get to a point where I'm satisfied with my cooking and not have to rely on those Hot Pockets anymore. Thank you.